Let's do a face-up video today, but not just any face-up video. So today I'm going to be doing 3 different heads in 3 different ways. I've been thinking about the ways I do color work and base coloring, and I wanted to try my hand at doing it 3 separate ways. I'm really curious to see what the results are going to be. The first method I'm going to do is my usual, which is with chalk pastels. I'm using the Mungio chalk pastels in this really lovely 64 pack. I really love these chalk pastels and I find the pigments really nice. I use a mix of makeup brushes and paint brushes to do this style of color work. These brushes are clean, but they are in fact stained from using them for the same things every single time. For example, these 3 fuzzy brushes are the ones I use for my undertone colors, which is why they are yellow, pink, and blue. This brush, which is an eyeliner brush I believe, I use for contour and for getting into tight corners around the doll's eyes and nose. Then this flat, rounded brush is what I use for lips and the inner edges of the eyes. This last paintbrush is what I use for whites or light contour. It doesn't pack the pigment on as heavily as the other brushes, which is why I like it for this purpose. Okay, so the head I'm going to be painting with this method is of course my Ybeedolls Nora. I just got her. Her resin color is called Fresh Milk, but it's definitely on the cooler side of milk-colored BJDs I've seen. More almond milk than cow's milk. Her color work and blushing ends up being really different from the other dolls, so it's kind of a weird comparison at the end, but I really wanted to give her a bit of a neon, pastel, kidcore, clowncore look. I know it's weirdly specific, but that's the vision. She gives me a similar vibe to my own sculpt Soda Pop, and I wanted to sort of play into that same aesthetic. I'm using this electric blue to fit the neon pastel aesthetic. Honestly, my undertone brush for this should probably be smaller because the spots I put blue tends to be pretty small. I used the paler of my yellow shades for Nora. I know on camera they look the same, but they're not. I place yellow on the outer corners of the eyes, the bridge of the nose, and under the chin, not on it. I also add it to the outer front edge of the ears. I do add a bit of lilac and an orange into her contour as well. I feel like this fits the aesthetic I'm going for a bit more. I also paint the inner ears lilac too, and after some sealant, she'll be ready to paint. Okay, time to do the second doll, which means airbrush time. My simply meant to be dohwee is getting the airbrush treatment, or torture maybe. I struggle with this a lot. Airbrushes are way harder to use than any other face-up artists are letting on. The paint density has to be actually perfect, and so does your pressure, or else you get blotches of colors that come out too heavy or too light, and if it's too thin, you get splatters like a paintball effect. And these paints, although water-based, don't wipe off nearly as easily as something like gouache or my regular acrylic. Once I master this thing, in the next 1 to 5 years, let me know if you'd be interested in an airbrush tips for BJDs tutorial. And honestly, I don't know how helpful watching me do the airbrush is because, like I said, I'm just not good at it. The one thing I do love about the airbrush is the blend. It's not as smooth as when you use chalk pastels, but it has a really beautiful look to it. You know, when it doesn't splatter everywhere. And of course, honestly, I think I could make the splatters look cool if I did it on purpose. But not like this. Okay, but doing the under eye bags was such a challenge. It's such a specific and tiny area to try to get paint into. And the paint was coming out so dark, and honestly... Final method. This is makeup brushes, or in this instance, I used these like Q-tip makeup tools, and gouache paint. Gouache is sort of like acrylic, but also sort of like watercolor, kind of in the middle. These are the gouache paints I use, and I honestly really love them. They're definitely well loved, as you can tell, although there are a couple colors I haven't even opened yet. These are water activated, so even though they look kind of musty and crusty, they are completely fine to use. I actually think makeup sponges or paint sponges would work way better. And I will try that out in the future, but this is what I had on hand and it did work out. Also, I'm sorry that the camera decides to focus on the paints and not the head I was painting, but you can see that I'm applying the color in the same places as the other two methods. Here's the trick though. Let the paint sit there until it gets a bit more tacky, and then you use the dry makeup brush or sponge to blend it out. I did this using small circular motions or a rolling motion. Also, with these Q-tip things, this rolling motion also gets the job done. Then I just do the same for the other colors. It is much easier to get the blue into the tight corners using this Q-tip tool, so I'm definitely reconsidering the size of the brush I use for my chalk pastel. Also, this is way closer to the blue shade I should have used with dohwee in the airbrush. Alright, while the sealant dries on these, let's take a minute and check out Doll of the Week. This week's Doll of the Week comes from DX Girly, and yes, she has been mentioned here a few times, and that's for good reason. She has recently had a Poppy join her Teeny Tinkers doll family, and I absolutely love the way Nikki has styled her, as always. Nikki has such cute styling for her dolls and my dolls, and I just love to see it. Thank you so much for sharing, Nikki. If you want to be featured for Teeny Tinkers Doll of the Week, don't forget you need to share your doll. You can share it over on Instagram using hashtag Teeny Tinkers Dolls, or please tag me, or you can share it over on our Discord in the TTD Doll Share channel. But with all that said, let's get back to this video and finish these face-ups. Okay, base colors are all done and the dolls are painted basically the same way from here. But I'll be using all the same materials now. I'm going to start by using some watercolor pencils. I use the Derwent Inktense pencils, which are honestly chef's kiss. I used to use Faber-Castells and a few other brands, and they always sort of crumbled or left weird lines or just didn't grab well. I honestly thought it was me for a really, really long time until I figured out that paying a bit more for supplies definitely pays off. You can definitely tell which colors I use the most. Black, brown, white. These are pretty much nubs. At some point, I'm going to have to buy a black and white set before anything else. Alright, I'm starting with dohwee, and I'm so glad to see that after the sealant, the airbrushing has dulled down a considerable amount. It's still a lot, I'm not gonna lie, but it's chilled out a little bit. Okay, I'm trying to add gouache eyeliner, and you can see how sometimes even after a couple sprays of Mr. Super Clear, the sealant still won't grab onto thin paints like watercolor or gouache properly. Usually if you let one layer dry down, even if it looks beady and weird, you can put a second layer on pretty easily. So if you're using these kinds of paints, don't worry if you run into this issue. Also, I use nail art brushes to do my fine line work. They are by far my favorite way to add gouache or acrylic to a doll. If anybody knows where I can buy a pack of the super fine and short nail art brushes, please let me know, because I rarely use the long skinny ones or the super thick ones that come in the multi-packs. By the way, I know some of the materials I use here are quite expensive, and I do mention that often you are paying for what you get, but if you're interested and if you're new to face-ups and want to start practicing, I do have a video all about budget face-up supplies. This is what I used to use all of the time, and honestly, they're still a really great place to start, and I do still use some of these supplies today. I'm trying to keep his lashes light and subtle because his blushing is definitely the star of this show. I do tend to use my own hand also as a test swatch, so I do this to make sure the paint's not going to go on too dark or have any big droplets on the end, but you'll notice the side of my hand just gradually becoming covered in little lines. Okay, I'm going to add some more freckles. I had to put a couple to cover up the airbrush speckles, but you know, if we're going to lean into the sun-kissed natural look, the freckles are just going to add more cuteness. Also, using a nail art brush is only one way to apply freckles, but you can also apply freckles using a toothbrush or another stiff, bristly paintbrush. I recommend watercolor or gouache paint, and you kind of just flick it on. I usually do this in the first layer, the undertone layer, when I know they're going to be freckly. Also, I got a question once about why I don't wear the white cotton gloves some of the other face-up artists wear in their videos, and the answer is they give me major sensory issues, and I really hate the feeling of having them on. They make the dolls very slippery, and I'm super afraid to drop them. I know the oils from your hands can end up messing with the face up, but you know, if you wash your hands or wipe them with water consistently, you're going to minimize this anyways. But anyways, did I mention how cute this doll is? Now, some of you who've been here a while might recognize this doll and think I've had him this whole time, but nope, I actually just got this one. He's a simply meant to be dohwee, and he is a sculpt I've had before. I used to have him in a lighter color like maybe a year and a half ago, but I needed some funds and decided to let him go. Basically, I was thinking I just didn't like boy dolls, but I don't know, I've kind of come around on it. I think sculpting my own boy dolls is really making me want to lean into making cute, soft boys too. Also, if you wanted to see dohwee's unboxing or the unboxing of any of these dolls in this video, they're over on my second channel, Teeny or Tinkers. And speaking of my second channel and my socials in general, I just wanted to remind everybody I'm hoping to have a bunch of giveaways in January 2024. I say hoping because the giveaways are going to be unlocked in a sense by helping me hit goals on my socials. Helping me grow my socials helps me expand my reach and my position in the algorithm. This helps me grow my channel and my doll business, which in turn helps me give back more to the community in the way I like, which is partially with giveaways. But I'm going to take a minute and let Giveaway Rosie fill you in with what to expect with these giveaways and how to unlock them. Hi there, it is Rosie from the editing desk, and I forgot to film the Giveaway Rosie segment, so this is now the Giveaway Rosie segment. So basically how it's going to work is there are different giveaways unlocked by different goals. So let's go over the goal. The first goal is 1K subs on Teeny or Tinkers. This is my second channel. It's where my chatty stuff is. It's where my unboxings live. If we hit that, the giveaway prize for that one is going to be a 3D printed teeny tiny of the winner's choice, except for Aria and Bowie because I lost to their STL files. My second goal is 10,000 on TikTok. And the prize for this is a blank Luna in the Blossom Pink color. And of course, the main goal, the big one, is 10K on this channel, Teeny Tinkers. So if you're not already subscribed, it's a good time. And I had so much fun with the prize last time that the prize for this one is again another one-of-a-kind full set. And it does benefit you to follow all of these socials, and that's because each giveaway is going to be held on each social channel. If we hit all 3 goals by the end of this year, I'm going to add bonus prizes in, so definitely worth trying. Giveaways and giveaway details will be announced at the beginning of 2024, so we still have time to make this happen, people. Let's go. All right, thanks for that giveaway, Rosie. Now we're on to Delphini and doing the same sort of eyeliner, eyelid, eyebrows, and lip lines. I do switch to a time lapse though and cut out the parts where I had to pull her off screen to see better. As for the underpainting, a couple of the lines where the blushing was slightly harsh were not blended in as much as I like, so I did add a bit of chalk pastel to deepen the color and create a smoother blend. Using the makeup sponges instead of Q-tips most honestly would have made this better. I also give her sad eyebrows because this sculpt has a naturally sad face, which is what made me fall in love with her in the first place. Okay, we're on to Nora. Honestly, the undercoloring is so fun, and I decide I need to give this a very fun graphic liner to go with it. I use pink, yellow, and blue gouache, and I create this almost rainbow liner effect. I only get the pink and blue done in this layer because I don't want to make the colors bleed by adding the yellow alongside them. I also add a bit more of the neon pink, orange, yellow, and blue blushing because I really love how intense these colors are. Whew. I know it probably doesn't seem like it's been that long, but this is 2 hours of work in, 15 minutes. Face-ups take quite a while because you have to wait for sealant to dry in between, but it does definitely make it go faster when you cycle the heads and do more than one head at the same time. This way the sealant can cure while you're painting a different doll. For this reason, I tend to wait to paint heads until I have at least 2 or 3 to do at once. Alright, I have a lot of fun purple wigs in my wig collection, so I decided to make Nora's eyebrows purple. I usually don't do a fantasy eyebrow color so that wigs can be more versatile, but I pretty much know she's going to have purple hair, so I decided to go for this. I don't know, something about her face up isn't reading natural vibes to me, so why not commit? Besides, the lilac eyebrows are so fun. I also go over the blue and pink liner again one more time to make sure the colors are not streaky and are as solid as possible. Okay, final layers. The last layer is where I add in the last bit of details. 3 layers is my typical go-to for face-ups, although certain face-ups can end up being 4 or 5 depending on complexity or things like eyeliner and all that stuff. Starting with dohwee, I start going in with whites and highlights into the eyebrows, lashes, and under his lower eyelid. I soften these up with some chalk pastels in the same color because his blushing came out really dark. Adding some highlights to his face definitely helped balance the look a bit more. I also added a bit more orange to the edge of his blushing, and I like the way this looks. It weirdly looks more natural now. Then Delphini's eyeliner color needed to be deepened to black, and then I added black lashes on top of her brown ones. I also added some black lashes to the top outer corners. I saw Jackie O do this and I really liked it, and I was like, that's a great idea, and I tried it, and yeah, 10 out of 10 will do this again. I also add a bit of brown paint to the mouth line, including a little extra in the corners of the mouth, then some highlights with the white pencil to the eyelids. For a little extra drama, I wet my nail art brush and then use a gold pink tinted mica powder over the highlights as well as in the waterline. This looks so pretty and almost like she's crying. I've seen other dolls where people make tears with UV resin, but I don't want to permanently alter her face, so for me this will do the trick. And it's Nora's final layer. I decide to use a yellow pencil first to draw in the yellow liner, then I add a bit more blush and color to the eyebrows before using gouache paint over the yellow pencil. Yellow is a lighter color, so it does take a few layers to cover the pink and blue well. After adding a bit more color and then some black liner on the inside of the eye, and some small black eyelashes, she's pretty much done. So let's see what everybody looks like with some eyes. And here they are. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please take the time to leave a comment telling me which you like best, and please don't forget to subscribe. Every day we get closer to hitting these goals, and I appreciate each and every one of you so much. As well, I've added a feedback form to my video descriptions where you can leave feedback for the channel, for the dolls, for all the things. If you're already subscribed, thanks so much for subscribing. If you're new here, you know the drill. As always, I hope you have a fantastic day.